I really think that I'm starting to get a hang of this thing because I was doing some of my admin work and this topic came to mind. And as I was really working through it, the sense of urgency, I ran to my car, got all of my podcast equipment, and set it just so that I could speak out loud and just, give you the tea. Because I think that just walking yourself through this, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. You're going to save yourself a lot of frustration, and you're going to be able to move and operate with a state of intention, and you're going to be able to be productive and not busy because you're really your body isn't just tired from your never-ending to-do list. It's really having to learn how to stabilize the chaos that you created yourself. And that is for a couple of reasons, but for me personally, it's probably because you said yes, you agreed to it, or you overpromised and you're afraid to underdeliver, and because you have a standard of excellence. And so you're always chasing perfectionism and not just giving what you got, right? Even if that's 60%, if you only got 60% today, that's your 100, right? Give from a space of that instead of trying to give more than what you have and you're running on E. Your stress probably looks like late nights, overthinking, and it's shaping your habits and your relationships, and probably, if not absolutely, your business. Because your body is going to adapt to everything that you put it through. And the same thing that builds you up is probably also the same thing that is breaking you down and causing you to feel very frustrated, irritable, and burnt out. And so this is going to be the topic today. We're going to decode how your body and business are speaking the same language, and how to also train your mind and your body to move and operate strategically like a CEO, like the boss babe that you are. So let's get into it. I'm excited. I literally this is my scratch paper. I didn't even get all of my cutesy little tools out because I was literally walking myself through this. And so we're going to talk about adapt or break. That's going to be the title today. Why you become what you endure. And so I was actually, to give you a little bit of context, my day-to-day life and my experience in business comes from the health and fitness industry. So I am a performance specialist and I train high-performing women, athletes, corporate baddies, and CEO business women who are entrepreneurs. And one of the major questions whenever they come, actually the first step when they come in to see me is they go through this assessment. And this assessment, for them, they think that they're coming in and they're going to go through all of these different variations of, tests. Like we do their body composition tests. We test their mobility and their stability, any kind of weak muscles. We get a lot of background on them and their history with fitness. And then we kind of dive into their goals. And then we try to work together and see what we can do for them. That's kind of how my assessment goes. But really, what I'm doing from my perspective is I'm gathering the most information about that individual to see how they move through life. What are their habits? What is their relationship with their habits? What is their headspace? What are their goals? What do they think that they want? What do they say that they don't want? Even is I'm trying to get as much information in a 30-minute time period of who is this person and what makes them tick and what do they really want? Can they answer that yet? Right? That's a lot of information. That's a lot of things to do in 30 minutes, but through thousands of reps and countless hours, and then also taking myself through this process it is like it is the most important thing. You like my clients know, even whenever they refer somebody else in, like they think that you can just like jump into a session. That scares me. Number one, that stresses me out. Number two, um, but so often I'm realizing that like professionals in this industry, they do business like that. And I can't imagine not having systems in place that protect your peace of mind, the client themselves. Like there's so much that goes into every single individual. And so not taking any considerations, I think is just a dangerous sport that I don't want to participate in. But it's the most important truth that you're ever going to understand about how change really works. And so I was going into what we call the SAID principle. If you are in this industry, like, it's just like it's going to save you probably 10 years if you just really study this principle. The SAID principle stands for specific adaptations to an imposed demand. And so it's how we try to reverse engineer something specific, like the goals of the person that's coming in, like that client. And so how it works is when a stress, that could be training, environment, or life. There's different variations of stress. When it challenges a body, it triggers a biological alarm phase. And if recovery is adequate, the body rebuilds stronger to handle the same stress in the future. And this is what we call supercompensation. It's where the body adapts to a specific type of stress placed upon it for the next time that it's exposed to it. Do you see where I'm going here? So, there are subcomponents to this very sentence, and so let's break it down a little bit further so that as we go along, things start to click. You start to clock it. The first one is a stressor. So the stress is any form of stress. That could be your heart rate, your breathing, your energy production, your stamina, the stressor. So when a stressor is challenged upon the body, it triggers a biological alarm phase. This is a fight or flight mechanism. It's a response that's necessary, and it's the first step for what the body is being exposed to for that attention and and to initiate a response to not just collapse under the pressure, right? And so it's compensating, it's making things happen under the load or the stress that's placed upon it, right? And if the recovery is adequate, you get where I'm going here. The body has to be given an adequate amount of time to rest and recover so that it can enter a rebuild and repair phase, right? So we have the stressor, the alarm, the recovery. And so if the recovery is adequate, the body rebuilds stronger to handle the same stress in the future. And that is what we call a supercompensation. And a supercompensation is the process of breaking down and being rebuilt into something that is stronger. And so the body adapts to that, to the specific type of stress placed upon it, and it goes through cycles. So the alarm phase is that first cycle. And the cycle continues as the body adapts. It will become less stressed to continue adapting to that stressor. And whenever it does adapt to that stress, to that very same load or exercise or time under tension, then if you want to increase reps or you want to increase muscle growth in that same department, is you have to gradually increase the stress. So you have to add weight, you have to add time under tension, you have to add variations of that exercise that stimulates the same breakdown. You get where I'm going here? Like, my brain was just turning, and I was like, "Wow, this is such a metaphor." And so I'm gonna give a few practical examples. Because we're talking about training, I think that it's a great, I think the gym itself is such a good training ground for life because I've never seen somebody who is incredibly fit not also be incredibly fit in other areas of their life, in, like, their business, in their family, as a spouse. I think that the gym teaches you in a safe environment so many skills that you need to just thrive in so many different areas of life. And so that's why I'm a huge advocate for women being in the gym and taking up space and being loud and just being a catalyst because I remember my very first day going into the gym, and this is as an ex-athlete, like, I was so uncomfortable in my body that, like, I did not even, I wouldn't have even put myself in the category of an athlete, and I remember, like, being, in Planet Fitness, like, they have the little core section, and it's usually, like, blocked off in a corner somewhere, like, I got my little bitty mat, my little 5-pound dumbbells, and my booty band, and I just, like, took up the smallest space to not be recognized, and to this day, can't relate. Like, man, that's for another day, but so if we go into training, like, let's talk about how this kind of plays out. So if you're a runner and you go to your school track and your goal is like, okay, I'm going to run a mile every day. I'm trying to just build this habit, right? I go run my mile, 10 minutes, go run my mile. And every time that you do that, you're building up this capacity. Your body gets familiar with like, "Hey, this girl's about to wake up at 5 AM, put on her shoes, take her little, take her water bought her little water jug with me with all the dents in it, and she's gonna go to the gym or she's gonna go to the school track, and she's gonna run 4 laps around the track." All of them measure up to, what, 400 meters, I think? Pray for me. But the body starts to recognize and that this is going to be our new rhythm, right? But then, you're gonna say, "Oh, I wanna run my mile in 6 minutes." And so you have to start exerting more and more energy and build up that capacity until you can achieve that, and that takes so many reps. But when the runner runs the same route, you'll build a body that adapts specifically to the type of demand and capacity to necessitate that goal, right? And so to become faster, you need a different stimulus. So if I did the same thing, I went to the same track, I ran the same amount of laps around it, but my goal changed. And so when my goal was to shorten my time, my output had to be to exert more energy. You get what I'm saying? And say you hit your goal and that's just my capacity now, and I'm starting to have like pain and my knees hurt, my hips hurt, my back, all those runner's pains is now you need a different type of stimulus to either consistently keep that result or you need another area of adaptation to happen to give you that resilience or to stimulate another different type of growth, right? And so even for me, like going and tearing my ACL is like I wanted to learn to just trust my knee again. Like you always have that fear after you've been hurt of like not experiencing that same pain. That's a bar. That's a bar. That might be another topic, but for me, like, I went into rehab and I was always doing the same exact exercises day after day after day, and they hurt, and I hated them. It was boring, it wasn't fun, and what I realized, like, I was even asking my PT, I'm like, "Why do I have to keep doing the same exact thing?" Like, the same stretches, the same foam rolling, the same exercises, right? And all he would do is just, change the amount of reps or change the amount of weight but it was still just, like, the same exercise, and it just started feeling like, I was just stuck in this like, I was just repeating every single day. And what he was trying to do was strengthen the muscles around that joint to protect it, right? I needed resilience. I needed to be able to the trust the capacity that my knee could do whatever I needed to do in different circumstances. I remember I went grocery shopping with my daughter, and it was, like, my first day without my brace on, and she goes, "Just running across the street," and I was just we've talked about this so many times, it's like, "Look both ways before you cross the street, stay with me, hold my hand," like and this was the day that she wanted to try me, and she's running across the street, and, like, I just wanted to run to her, and I forgot, like, "Oh my gosh, I literally tore my ACL," but something in me, like, I literally just took off, and I grabbed my daughter, and you know, waved my hands at the person that was driving because they were texting in the car, like, my body reacted, and at that moment, I didn't know I was able to do that, but, like, I built up this capacity by doing the minute basic things that I built up a lot of resilience so that my body could give me what I asked for in a time that I need it, even if I didn't know that I had that in me, right? And so, you know, doing those specific motions was tailored towards just my knee, right? It wasn't fixing my back pain or my posture. It wasn't giving me that mental resilience and that stamina. I love the plyos. Like I wanted to get back to the fun and the action to play volleyball. And so it wasn't, going to improve my strength or my performance in other areas, but like how could I even do those things if I had not went through that process, right? And so now, let's dive a little bit deeper in it. Okay, even environmental. So now I live in Texas. All right. Really, it's always something. I'm not even gonna lie. But last week it was 82 degrees, and then this morning I woke up 36. Excuse me? But say you live in a cold climate and you've lived there your entire life, you have learned to adapt and your body has had an increased metabolism to cope with the cold. But say you just moved to Austin and you got to deal with whatever the heck is going on here, like your body might be going through some changes because it's in a different environment now, and so it's gonna have to adapt to different circumstances. And the same goes for just, like, as I dive deeper is when it what do your emotions look like in this said principle, right? If you just keep suppressing your emotions, your body for me, as somebody that doesn't like confrontation for multiple reasons, but, I have a great work ethic and I don't like confrontation. I think that's just such a it's not a good mix. It's not a good combo. And what that like over time created was like I was just so reactive to the people in my life, like or the people like really close to me, like my family, like I like even my daughter, sometimes it's like I would just snap at her and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I'm just it's been a long day. I'm frustrated. We're in a rush. We gotta go. We're already late. Like and then really it was, I was what I was really frustrated was that I didn't wanna have this interaction with this person whenever I get to work, or, I didn't wanna go and do the doctor's appointments today, like, I have all of these things in my day that I don't really wanna do, but I had agreed to them, right? They're on the list, and I have this expectation to do everything on my only day off, and I was internally just frustrated, like, I just wanted to sit on TikTok in my bed and just, like and just scroll, right? And I am I wrong for saying that? Like, I get everyone has an addiction, but, like, mine's happens to be, you know, I love the algorithm that I'm on TikTok. I love cleaning TikTok. I love like and I think that you have to have that time where, like, I need I've learned that I need to find ways that my mind is switched off from productivity and what I can give and just decompress, like, something that needs I need something that takes all of my attention because otherwise I'm always constantly just my head is always turning towards, what I do because this is the part about entrepreneurship nobody talks about is it's you think that you have freedom of time, but a lot of people in business fail because they have too much freedom. You have no time management. You don't treat your life like a 9 to 5, and that's probably the part that people don't understand are actually, like, good parameters to have is that you might be an, employee you might have an employee mindset. You might not have the discipline, the standard, or the work ethic to or the self-control to be an entrepreneur. Like, that's another conversation for another day. This is so fun whenever I get to talk out loud. I'm starting to have fun with it. But even let's talk about that. I am not a technologically savvy person, and so the amount of resistance, that I have felt over the past 4 months to even be here in this moment, I'm surprised like, I'm so thankful that I have a hairline, like, that I have hair on my head because I was and I've learned this now after all of the time and the amount of reps and, like, what this feeling really means, um, and what's on the other side of it whenever I feel just, like, internal resistance or I feel, like, scared, and it usually shows up in the form of, like, procrastination or overthinking or overexerting myself to or overeducating myself before I even start, like, I have in micro cycles exposed myself to what it takes and what it will look like and the process of having, bringing to life and nurturing having a podcast. And even like, what will this podcast mean to me? And what will this podcast mean to the people who listen? What will people get from having this shared experience together? Like, it's taken 4 months of me just, like, microdosing myself into, like, okay, well, one day I'll look up, like, what equipment do people use? What equipment do people not use? Um, what's the most expensive equipment? What's the cheapest? And, listen to people's, input on their shared experiences with those things. Like, I microdosed my way into this very moment, and honestly, like, I'm just really present right now that and in this moment, I know that I've done my best, and I'm super proud of myself, and I wonder how many people walk themselves through that. Like, is that something that you do? When's the last time you've done that? Like, the delayed gratification of just not rushing it, but also when something is placed on your heart and it keeps just you keep seeing these signs every day, I think it would be so sad if I just never put my toe in the water. And had I not done this, like, if you have something on your heart, and I speak to women about this too, is even when it becomes like, even the topic of being a mom, like, so many women put their dreams and their hobbies and their friendships and their needs and their money on the back burner for someone else, and honestly, being a parent, it's a you chose this life. Like, I get it's a responsibility, but how do you steward that responsibility? How do you show up when you operate in that way? And I think I'm so grateful for my daughter. Like, I think that she has been exactly what I needed to change my heart. Like, we used to, like, have to just ride this wave together. I remember, like, she as soon as she was 3 years old, like, able to walk, like, she came to work with me every single day, and I'm telling you, I worked from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day, Monday through Saturday, and she was always there with me, and she never complained, and she was having fun in her corner while I was doing my job, and I even remember then, like, at least she gets to be with me other than being with a babysitter as I'm going to work at the hospital for a 16-hour shift. Like, thank you, Jesus, that I get to just still be a present parent, and eventually, like, I think I just, like, things got in the way, and I forgot, like, what a blessing it is that I've created this life that allows this said freedom, because other people, are still trying to figure out how to work a 9 to 5 and get their kids to school and to practice and all these extracurricular activities. Like, I'm in a place now where it's like, I know I'm trying to always, like, remind myself how it's such a blessing and to be grateful that I have the opportunity, and to not complain about those things. Um, but yeah, like, I hope that just women, just don't forget to you will be so regretful if something is on your heart and it lights you up and it just makes you really like who you are, and you don't do it. We have to build up that capacity, and we have to keep exposing ourselves. And oftentimes, like, maybe our biggest mistake is that we try to just dive all in. We try to go head first. We quit our job. We tell our boss to fuck off, and we just dive into entrepreneurship with no baseline knowledge, no mentors, no money, no resources, no tools, no skills. Like, and some people might need that amount of pressure to adapt, but that's not me. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. If you've heard my story, like, I literally saved up 3 months of bills, and um, to know that, hey, I'm not making a selfish decision. I still have a daughter to take care of. I still need a roof over my head. We still got to have food in our tummies, like, and but I gave my. It took me a long time to save that 3 months. Like, I didn't have a lot of money to be putting aside, anyways, and it cost money I didn't even know about in creating my business that, could have taken away from it. But I gave my all, but I gave myself a chance at the same time. And I built up that resilience, by the preparation beforehand, and also just, like, keeping the promise that I made to myself to see something through and see what's on the other side, and having also a plan B and a plan C. But the same goes for business. Like, if you only work in sprints of excellence, then you only work when motivations are high, and you're training yourself to be addicted to chaos and to productivity and to output, and you'll have just no clarity and no metrics of accomplishments. You won't even know what you're aiming towards. You're just like, what is it, that video where, like, someone's like shooting a bow and arrow and they have a blindfold on. Like, you don't even know what your target is. Like, you're working towards everything and not working towards anything. And so no wonder you're tired. You ran a mile in the wrong way. And so I say all that to say this: you grow from what you recover from. I'm gonna say it again, you grow from what you recover from. And to sum it all up is I like to break things down into 3 to 5 steps, and so here are some key takeaways for application to your life and said principles. Number 1, specificity is key. Be specific. Um, I encourage you, what Steve Harvey, he has that video on YouTube, look it up, but it's called, what is it? The 300 list? But the top like, he was talking about, you have not because you ask not. Write down 300 things that you want in life, that you wanna see, that you wanna have, that you wanna feel, that you wanna experience, like, skills that you want, the car that you want, like, you it took me I would honestly, it took me and keep it on your bedside table, like, don't let it get out of sight. You consistently keep exposing yourself, make sure that you can't forget about it. I kept my journal by my side table and by my nightstand, but keep inventory. It took me like 8 months to add 300 things to a list of things that I want, and it was just like the way your brain starts churning, like, I want like, when I die, I want to have my funeral paid for. I never want my kids to have to, um, just have to go through that process of figuring out, like, what would I have wanted and how would I have wanted these things? Because sometimes we don't have enough time to have important conversations about those things. When I lost my grandma, like, and seeing how that affected our family, it was the first loss in our family, was like, I didn't even know to until I had experienced it, like, I didn't even know to ask myself these questions and, like, how would I do those things differently or what would I do the same, you know? And that's why I think it's important to, um be exposed to a diverse amount of audience who have so many different experiences because you never know whenever that experience is going to be your experience. And oftentimes, like having that conversation ahead of time will prepare you or at least give you, you know, some sort of idea of how to navigate those situations. Um, but specificity is key. And to get good at a specific skill, you have to practice that specific skill specifically. You know, most people don't even know what they want. Most people don't know who they are. Most people can't tell me why they want the things that they say that they want. And that's you're going to waste a lot of time there. It's important to start there. Like, what do you want? Why do you want it? When you have it, how long do you want to hold it? What does it feel like? How do you look when you have it? How do you feel when you have it? You know, who do you have with you when you have it? Like, get super, super specific about what you want. Number 2 is don't neglect recovery. This is the this is the hardest thing for me, and I'm not even gonna lie to you because I am being super disciplined in exactly this right now, and so I'm only learning from an immature place, but without it, your body cannot adapt and may instead enter a state of chronic stress or injury, and so even in the training world, I know out of science, out of proven fact that, you know, to get the best return of investments on a day's session, like, it's important to allow your body a substantial amount of time of rest before you expose yourself back to that same exact session, and how will you show up into that session if you don't respect those parameters or you don't take in all of these different modalities of recovery and what's the quality of your recovery, sometimes time isn't enough, sometimes you need other interventions, like cold plunge, sauna, stretching, soft tissue, a massage, the adequate amount of sleep, hydration, eating protein. There's so much that goes into recovery. Like, growth doesn't happen in the session, growth happens out of the session. And that's also equates to, how we show up at work and how we show up in our marriage or how we show up in um as a mom or as a friend or the list goes on and on. Number 3, consider different types of stress. So stress isn't just physical, it's also psychological as well, and that response can have adaptations too. So if you are having quality time with family, but you're not present, you're on your phone, your ringtone is on, and you have many distractions, then what is the quality of that stress or that said experience? So if you don't take that time and really make sure that your feet are where you wanna be, then it's gonna be hard to, like, really be present in that moment. Even like I said today is I feel so blessed to be right here, right now, because I know that this was something that would have literally or has literally brought me in tears probably, 2 months ago. But finally, individualism matters. Just like I said at the beginning, when it comes to like my first interaction with my clients, it's about gathering information. The same goes for you whenever you take in this information, what you get from it, and all of the options that you're gonna have might be entirely different from mine because our circumstances are different. And everyone responds differently, and that is important to take inventory of, because it's something that isn't if it's something that is not specific to you, like our age, our height, our weight, our marital status, timelines, history, restrictions of resources, your adaptations will be uniquely different, and you'll have different adaptations based on your individualism. And so, you know, that was just my um, thought process today going into it. And I actually just think that I'm excited to hear about, y'all's experience and, what phase are you in your life, or what principles do you have? What are your specific goals that you're working towards? Which of those key takeaways you feel like is going to come first on your list? Like, which one do you battle with the most? Even share the things that you're really good at, or things that you have learned and skills that you've acquired by experiences or wisdom, in the comments for other people and other women to share, because all of our experiences are super valuable and they are going to help feed the community. And that's what this is all about. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still here, this is the Inner Architect. My name is Mon'Tee. I'm your host, and I can't wait to, pop up in and enjoy our next conversation.